get to the news. According to a new report, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has hired former President Trump's White House political director Brian Jack to help Republicans win back the House in 2022, though it's unclear if Jack can recapture the magic that helped Trump lose by 8 million votes. After Senator Bernie Sanders criticized him on Twitter last week for his multi-billion-dollar fortune, Tesla founder Elon Musk tweeted, quote, "I am accumulating resources to help make life multiplanetary and extend the light of consciousness to the stars." And then he coughed for like 5 minutes straight. New York Representative Tom Reed was accused last week of sexual misconduct. Okay, well, that's strike one of apparently 30? Britain's Queen Elizabeth is reportedly set to appoint a diversity czar after Duchess Meghan Markle accused the royal family of racism, because when I think sensitivity to the disenfranchised, I think czar. According to reports, several young White House staffers have been put on probation or fired due to past marijuana use. So if anyone asks, this is just tobacco. Calms them down, makes them less likely to bite. Virginia Commonwealth University's basketball team was pulled out of the NCAA March Madness tournament over the weekend after several positive coronavirus tests. And I don't want to brag, but I totally had that in my bracket. Six Flags announced that it will reopen its theme parks in California next month. When asked if it was safe, they said, I mean, as safe as we've ever been. A wax museum in Texas recently removed a statue of former President Trump after it was repeatedly punched and scratched by visitors. And this is weird, as well as by the other wax statues. A representative from a sex toy company said in a new interview that the next generation of artificial intelligence sex robots will have sensors in erogenous zones that respond to touch. So introducing Disappointed Robot Girlfriend. Today was World Water Day, so shout out to my hose. Scollins ruins World Water Day. And you know, he thinks he's very clever, but I saw how you spelled the joke. And finally, officials in Cambridge, Massachusetts recently approved plans for a cannabis cookie store in Harvard Square. So if you go to Harvard and you love weed, I bet your dad also went to Harvard? And that was a monologue, everybody. And I know what you're thinking. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You didn't show that clip of Biden tripping on the stairs to Air Force One. If Trump had tripped like that, you would have shown that clip for a month. And you know what? Right. We would have done that. So fine, here's the clip of Biden tripping. I mean, he did run for president like 8 times before he won, so obviously he's going to stick with it no matter how many times he trips. In the interest of equal time.
Yes. 10,000 known or suspected.
You know what I do? I think our Trump clips were a little longer. We'll fix that for the repeat. It's interesting. I feel like they're the opposite with stairs and COVID. Like with COVID, Trump took no precautions. Biden took every precaution. But on stairs or ramps, Trump's super careful. Always holding the railing, going real slow. Whereas Biden throws caution to the wind, trips upstairs 3 times. So it's interesting, you know, it just shows we all contain multitudes. White House advisors are reportedly set to present a 2-part, $3 trillion jobs and infrastructure proposal to President Biden this week, which seems to me like a huge overreaction to a couple of broken stairs. Gotta love him respecting the rule of 3s. While testifying last week before the Senate, Republican Senator Rand Paul criticized infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci for continuing to wear a mask after receiving the coronavirus vaccine. But that's insane. We're in a pandemic. Fauci is an epidemiologist. If you're at the zoo and you see the lion keeper running, you run. According to a new report, since President Biden took office, CNN has lost 45% of its primetime audience to its biggest competitor, a good night's sleep. That's right, news outlets are seeing a slump in ratings after former President Trump left office. Yeah, of course, and the Weather Channel always takes a hit after hurricane season is over. Nobody ever yells, "It's sunny and 75, quick, turn on the TV." Russian President Vladimir Putin received the coronavirus vaccine today. He wanted to do it weeks ago, but they had to wait for the healthcare workers' hand to stop shaking. Vice President Kamala Harris today swore in former Boston Mayor Marty Walsh as labor secretary. Walsh's first planned action as secretary will be to remove the letter R from labor. Former President Trump yesterday endorsed the primary challenger for Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, and he would love it if Brad could help find enough votes for that guy to win. A Pennsylvania couple is receiving attention online after converting a former school into an almost $2.4 million mansion, which was all well and good until the students returned from remote learning. What the hell? The art studio's a bathroom? A group of former Jeopardy winners and contestants recently published an open letter calling on producers to remove talk show host Dr. Oz as guest host, which is a shame. If anything, Dr. Oz needs more access to the correct answers. Congress is reportedly considering a ban on menthol cigarettes. Well, at least this storming of the Capitol won't be so bad. So many stairs. I think we'll just go home. Let's write a letter. According to a new study, eating breakfast before 8:30 a.m. may lower the risk of developing diabetes, but it doesn't count if you were out drinking until then. Today was National Agriculture Day, so shout out to my hoes. Scollins again. Back-to-back days. Turns in the same joke. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said on Monday that President Biden and former President Barack Obama still talk on the phone regularly, and it always starts the same way. Joe, this could have been a text. It's not the same. Senator Ted Cruz criticized Democrats yesterday for their response to recent gun violence. Apparently, he was upset that during a time of serious crisis, Democrats didn't even try to go on vacation. In her defamation lawsuit with Dominion Voting Systems, former President Trump's ex-lawyer Sidney Powell argued that her claims to invalidate the 2020 election were not based in fact. And I just can't believe we were lied to by the fake-head lady from Total Recall. It was announced yesterday that Regal Theaters will begin reopening early next month and will show the new movie Godzilla vs. Kong. And I gotta say, I didn't realize until just now how much I missed walking out of movies. A teacher in Britain was recently suspended for 2 years after he said his female students dressed like, quote, prostitutes and Kardashian clones, and then another year for adding, I meant it as a compliment. Tip of my cap. What am I doing? I could do a British accent, and I choked on it twice. Tip of my cap. Legendary director Steven Spielberg is set to direct a semi-biographical movie about his life, while legendary director Woody Allen did a bunch. The creators of Sesame Street introduced 2 new Black Muppets yesterday to help facilitate discussions of racism and Black identity, which means Kermit may finally have to admit that it's pretty easy being green. Champion free diver Alexei Molchanov broke another world record last week after diving approximately 262 feet on a single breath. Even more incredible, this guy is still holding his breath for the Supreme Court to overturn the election. Got bad news from you from Fakehead Lady. Florida recently banned the importation of non-native reptile species, said one man, what if we're already here? Convenience store chain 7-Eleven, convenience store chain, stop moving the car, Wally. Convenience store chain 7-Eleven announced yesterday they will partner with Laredo Taco to open a drive-thru at a location in Dallas, though it sounds more like they're partnering with the police on a DUI roadblock. And finally, today was National Cheesesteak Day. Celebrate by taking a whiz. 3 days in a row from Scollins. A turkey. We gotta say, yeah, I mean, again, I think if you're one of our loyal viewers, Mike Scollins for 3 days in a row has written a joke about whatever national day it was, and now you have to tune in tomorrow to see if you can get 4 in a row. The rare ham bone, I believe it's called. So hopefully for Scollins, tomorrow is National Hacky Joke Day. President Biden held his first official news conference today, and Democrats everywhere held the edge of their seats. During his first press conference today, President Biden said, quote, "I got elected to solve problems." Okay, so what do you know about boats and canals then? During his press conference, President Biden said he supports changing the rules of the filibuster to require senators to stand and speak like it was when he was in the Senate, quote, 120 years ago. Now, obviously, he misspoke. 120 years ago, he was still in college. President Biden's dogs, Major and Champ, have returned to the White House after spending time in Delaware and working with the trainer, but I don't know, something about them seems a little off. Officials have announced that a nearly quarter-mile-long container ship that has been stuck in the Suez Canal in Egypt since Tuesday could take weeks to free. Even worse, it's carrying that thing you rush ordered for your wife's birthday. A Spirit Airlines flight was diverted to Denver yesterday after a passenger allegedly tried to open an emergency exit door. Luckily, it was a Spirit plane, so the emergency exit was just painted on. The Olympic torch relay began today in Fukushima, Japan, and will be carried around the country by more than 10,000 people before arriving in Tokyo's Olympic Stadium. That story again, an open flame will be run through a nuclear fallout disaster area before being passed person to person 10,000 times during a contagious pandemic. Let the games begin! Officials in China recently closed the country's first sex doll hotel and released a statement attributing the move to reasons, quote, "not convenient to explain." And I think I speak for everyone when I say, I'll make time for this one. Also, what do you mean the reasons are not convenient to explain? I think it's pretty easy to explain. Sex doll hotel is the explanation. I don't even like to touch the remote control in a hotel room. I'm joking. They actually closed it because, against all odds, nobody came. Organizers of the annual Hash Bash marijuana rally in Ann Arbor, Michigan, announced on Tuesday that the event will be held virtually this year, which is risky because once everyone realizes they can do it from their couch, they'll never go back. And finally, today was, before I tell this joke, there's a lot of national days on the calendar. Pretty much every day in the setups of our jokes, you find out what national day it is. And something that's never been attempted before has happened this week. Mike Scollins, a writer for the show, has told today was National Whatever Day with a punchline 3 days in a row, which is known as a turkey. No one's ever done 4 in a row, but he's about to try. And we're about to see if he can tell 4 funny jokes about a national day of the week. For those who don't know, this is our friend Mike Scollins right here. Let's just show him up. There you go. That's Mike in his everyday outfit. And now we're going to find out if he can tank top himself. And finally, today was Pecan Day. Well, I hope you got a nut. Judges? Heartbreaking. That was a monologue, everybody.